What's up, guys? We're back once again to r/pro revenge. Got a couple more stories ready to go for the day, so let's get right into them. Also, don't worry, the bonus is back, so stick around for that as well, and I will see you in a bit. The client is not always right. This just happened. Couldn't wait to get home and post. I'm on cloud 9. Long read. TLDR at the bottom. I work at a big ad agency with large companies as our clients. We expect to work in partnerships with our clients. We fire clients that treat us poorly. Usually, we treat each other with respect. Our biggest client has 5 different teams we work with, and one of them was led by Baseball Dad. BD was the type of necklace marshmallow who gets wasted at his kid's baseball game and starts heckling the other kids. Just a boorish a-hole. He never approved any of our work, putting out awful stuff that his internal team made, even though he's literally paying us millions of dollars to make ads for him. His product was struggling to sell, and he blamed us, even though we were killing it with the other 4 teams. He didn't know this, which comes back to bite him later. However, none of this is why we needed revenge. I don't give a crap if a client wants to fail. I collect my paycheck regardless. However, he crossed several lines. 1. He was extremely sexist. He used to call my female coworkers sweetheart in the most condescending voice, commenting on their clothes/bodies and winking/smirking at me while they're talking. Because we're both men, I guess. These women are highly accomplished, serious people, and they're like family to me. Huge misplay on his part. 2. BD was abusive to us. He would constantly interrupt us, tell us to shut up, call us vendors, and remind us he could fire us at any time. 3. BD would lie. He would tell his boss, actually a nice guy, but too busy to check closely, that we missed deadlines or forgot deliverables because he never checked his email. We would then have to awkwardly struggle to prove BD wrong without calling him a liar so we could keep the business. He never owned up to anything he said to us on the phone. 4. The final straw took place on a call between BD and one of my project managers. I saw her run out of the room crying. She told me BD said to her in a one-on-one call that she should worry less about budgets and more about wearing that nice top she wore in our last presentation. Gross. Revenge time. I told my cool boss that our team had enough of BD. We were at our wits' end with his crap. Several of my coworkers were looking for new jobs. It's hard to hire good people, so my boss asked me to give her a day to figure this out. She wanted to lose BD without the entire business. The next day, she showed up with our IT guy, who set up voice recordings on our conference line. It's illegal to record people without consent in my state, but BD was late to every call. Too bad, because if he showed up on time, he would have heard the new message kicking off every call. This call is being recorded. His team heard it and had no problem with it. I suspect they hated him too. For the next 2 weeks, we recorded everything. Every word of it. One of my audio engineers made a supercut of every terrible thing BD said. Every sweetheart, shut up, no one cares what you think. The project manager even baited him into repeating what he said about her clothes on a budget call. This time, he literally said, "You're much better at flirting than budget, sweetheart. That's why I like you." The supercut sounded insane when played all together. It was an incredible piece of evidence. We sent it to his boss and his vice president and threatened to walk away from the work 2 weeks before product launch if BD wasn't disciplined. They immediately apologized and begged us not to leave. They said it would be handled by Monday. My one sweet project manager, he had been so gross to got the best part of the revenge. Okay. She anonymously sent the supercut to his wife using the email address she had posted on LinkedIn. I don't know what became of that, but I imagine it wasn't good. On Monday, BD wasn't on the call, My boss snooped and found out that he had a few complaints prior and got immediately fired after we sent it through. He didn't see vendors as people, so he was shocked that his words towards us counted against his 3-strike policy. Apparently, he melted down completely as he was being fired. He said it was all because we were incompetent, but the other 4 team leads had all put in their numbers and said it wasn't on our end. Their products were slaying. Wish I could have seen it. I imagine he came home to a very angry wife as well. We're all hitting the bar tonight in his honor. Screw you, baseball dad. TLDR, sexist client gets recorded and canned from his cushy, high-paying job that he didn't deserve. CEO voids a verbal agreement. Enjoy the new union. Hey all, this is a long story which spans several years, but I look back at the outcome with fondness. 25 years ago, I worked 7 nights a week as a driver, subcontracted to a local newspaper to deliver bundles to stores and carriers. At 18, I was the youngest driver with his own route, having first been brought in by a family friend when I was 16 as a spare driver, then moving up. My days were at college, studying computer science or working computer repair jobs. Verbal agreement gets voided. The rural route I was offered had the greatest number of kilometers with a relatively lower number of newspapers compared to other routes. I made an agreement with the manager, bought a heavy-duty cargo van, which had been converted to run on propane, far cheaper back then got to work. Most other trucks would not have made a profit doing this route. After several months on the job, I was called into the office by the CEO of distribution company, who was mad that I had been getting paid more for my kilometers in comparison to other in-city routes. The manager backed me up, saying that he had okayed the rate to balance out the larger hours with fewer bundles. The CEO yelled at the manager in front of the whole office and asked if there was a signed contract to state the agreed terms. When the manager admitted it was a verbal contract, the CEO said it didn't count and was void. I get organized. Stuck with having to pay off the cargo van and really did enjoy the job itself, I kept at it, but documented everything, including all negotiations, calls asking me to come early, requests to set the order of my route, time waiting at press, time entering/leaving loading bay, who was before and after me, route completion times, return home times, fuel costs, kilometers driven, and press breakdowns. 6 months later, I wanted to take some time off but was refused. None of the company spares would agree to do my route since it cost them too much in time and fuel. Working 7 nights a week gets draining. I threatened to quit and the company relented, agreeing to pay the spares more, but not me. The situation made me madder than ever, and I started reading. I get organized. I learned of the magical difference between a dependent and an independent contractor, and how a dependent contractor is granted many of the same rights as employees, like overtime and holiday pay. I knew this was a temporary job for me, but I was pissed enough to devote a large amount of my time to make the owner pay. I filed a comprehensive personal employment standards complaint using all those records I had been keeping. Plus, I offered my records to around 10 other drivers who followed my lead into filing their own complaints. A key part of my records was proving how much control the company had on how we performed our jobs. Talk of unionizing was always in the background, but it was at this point I joined the cause with a fervor. We attracted one of the country's largest unions, who devoted a fair amount of resources to backing us, even before they were voted in. My records went to the union, who referred to them consistently, because I had years of spare experience. I also had in-depth knowledge of many of the other routes and the lopsided pay. I helped convince several of the other drivers to join up, including some of the spares. Forming a union is a long process, so be aware there were multiple votes interspersed with the events below with each vote favoring the union position. There were also several other enthusiastic organizers who were tired of how things were. The company fights back. The company played hardball and went after us on multiple fronts. A number of union-friendly spares were fired. Drivers lost their routes due to strategic amalgamations, and I was let go under the excuse that I had less seniority than the CEO's son-in-law, who had worked as a spare a couple of times over the last few years. My own departure didn't last long. The newspaper itself demanded I be put back on my route, following major problems and delays from the son-in-law. Doing it bad drops, loads of complaints by carriers and customers. The union filed complaints to the labor board, calling it obvious union busting. I filed a complaint to the Employment Standards Tribunal, which had been set up for my personal case. Since the company had played the seniority card, it was determined I had greater seniority than a number of company men, given I had worked as a spare since I was 16. The labor board said I should be given the opportunity to bump any of those with less seniority and take their route. Both the company and union asked me not to pursue this if I agreed to an intermediate increase to my current route and to be paid for all days missed. I agreed. Negotiations paid off. Now, 2 years later from the start of my story, negotiations were still ongoing, but several interim agreements had been reached. A universal pay algorithm was agreed on, with drivers receiving back pay to when the negotiations started. I received one of the biggest checks. One thing I did not agree to was to let the union negotiate away my employment standards complaint. I was the lone holdout here, so, as such, I had equal standing in some labor board tribunals with CEO and union negotiators. I will always relish the disdain of the CEO had for me at those meetings, to the point of placing his briefcase on the negotiating table to block my view of him, and me reclining back ever so slowly in those nice comfy chairs to grin at him while offering water. The Employment Standards Tribunal determined I was a dependent contractor. They awarded me everything I'd asked for, and more, including penalties and interest. They made a point to mention how egregiously the company had behaved after the complaint had first been submitted. The dependent contractor determination greatly strengthened the union's position for further negotiations. I move on to my career and stake. I quit shortly afterwards, since I had finished with college, and was full into the tech world. It did take a couple more years for the company to finally agree to pay the full amount awarded. The CEO delayed as long as he could. Every few months I refused lowball settlement offers. The check with his personal signature paid off my student loans and a steak dinner. TLDR, CEO voids a verbal agreement. I get documenting and fired, get rehired, win employment standards case, and help bringing in a union. I also eat steak. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for the stories of the day. Now let's head on over to the bonus, which is going to be r/facepalm. Let's do it. Me. What if there's a woman on your crew? Man working. What? Oh, I don't know, I'm just here. Me. Are there any women on your crew? Man working. No. Me. Do you think maybe they're related? Man working. Awkwardest face. Thank you for being so brave and harassing the working class. The only woman I see isn't working, so sign is accurate. I mean, you did kind of prove the sign right, so I guess I don't know what you're trying to get at here, lady. I'm guessing from your spelling realize that you're not native to America, and quite possibly English is a second language to you. In any case, I hope you're not annoyed by this. I'm just trying to help. I'm British. I mean, if you're trying to sound like a top hat Winnie the Pooh, you might as well at least go into Google and type in realize with an S. You'll realize that you're an idiot. Most people in #Haiti live in tents, shacks, or on the streets. And now a Hurricane 4 is heading their way. Did you read what I wrote? Tents, shacks, and on the street. And have you been there? Most people in Haiti do not live in tents. What are you talking about? At Greta, you had me on your show as a Haiti expert, remember? And blocked. I mean, sometimes you gotta use the ultimate argument method. They can't fight back if they can't talk. At rental car agency, can't find my name on the monitor to find my car. Go inside and wait in line. Finally get to the front. Agent sees me and says, "You really are Tony Hawk." Me, yes, I was looking for my name outside on the list. Him, I deleted it because I thought it was fake. Oh, celebrity problems, am I right? I mean, every time I show up to a dealership and say, "Hey, Faux Beer's here, where's my stuff?" all they say is, "The money's in the back, please don't hurt us." Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the day. If you like what you heard, consider subscribing, ring the bell icon, stay up to date because we do this every single day with a new video. I'll see you again soon. Peace out.